Wait, I
Hello,
don't know what the real
everybody.
deal is. Help me out here.
Hello,
What
everyone.
are we doing here?
Hello, shut up, Egrix. We are back with another video. We are leaving. So this is the start of a new gameplay session, 14 out of 17. Not that it matters to you guys.
We're nearing the end, dear viewers. Finally.
Steadily. We are just recruiting some units, probably to replace some of the lost units in other armies. I decided to remove the taxes from Numidia.
It's been a long time since we've had tax provinces enabled, don't you think?
Well, this time I disabled the taxes for stability purposes. But as do decide to tax Cisalpina. Well, no, I enabled them in Gallia Cisalpina. Cisalpine. I just turned them off in Numidia. Should pay more attention.
Well, our hidden agents should pay more attention to his surroundings because he just got caught again. Oh, I thought we got rid of those bloody pirates.
Pirates will keep coming.
They're stealing all of our content, trying to sell it off to distant buyers and everything. Jesus.
Anyways, and we had the Brethren of Battle outside Coria.
Where's the 104? That's the troop you need right there, man.
Well, we'll probably see one of our 104 armies around. But at the moment we are focusing on building up our provinces.
Sure, that seems to be
We're building a shrine to Baal Hamon in Octogeron.
Instead of actually engaging in battles.
Well, this is also important, Ecritics. This stuff is also important. But you're the one who decided to show this.
I do it for you, Kanagusis, because that's what's required of me. I have no say in the matter. That's something you need to know.
I give you a fair bit of leeway in what you think is right to
Everything
include.
that goes on in this channel is completely at his whim. I'm just a slave who doesn't even get paid.
Nor do I get paid.
I didn't even have a choice to join this channel. He forced me through blackmail and intimidation.
Regardless, the fact is I give you a bit of leeway in the editing. I just give you some general guidelines. So it's your decision in the end to include this stuff as much as you do. But at the moment we are leveling up our governors.
Now you're just gaslighting me. You're trying to make me feel bad about my own decisions, but it's your fault. It's your fault, man.
But you're the one who's moaning about these decisions that I effectively give you the leeway to, so...
Anyway, let's just all agree it's his fault and move on. Anyway, so what are we doing here now? What's going on?
We are moving our armies around. That's what we were doing, moving our armies around. I think in particular we were upgrading our cavalry a tad.
I see we're upgrading the Scourge of... What was it called again?
Scourge of Reshef.
The Scourge of Reshef. Ah, I pronounced something right this time.
Yeah, finally. And we got Dido's Faithful. I think we're moving them to Tarraconensis so we can recruit cavalry there because of the horse pen building that we have. That provides a bonus to cavalry speed.
What kind of cavalry are we recruiting again?
The usual. Like Arios Epones, Libby Phoenician cavalry, Numidian cavalry, that sort of stuff.
Yet again, another hidden agent exposed. Jesus Christ! Can we?
Well, sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're not our agents. They're other agents that got exposed.
They never seem to actually tell you which agents got exposed.
It gives you a name. It tells you. It tells you the name of the agent. If you paid enough attention, you'd see that it actually tells you the agent name. But yeah, so we negotiated a treaty with the Iceni, and looks like we've negotiated a non-aggression pact with that Germanic faction, I believe it was. I think we rejected a diplomatic agreement with the Tulingi, because I think we plan to fight them. We've now just achieved a population surplus in Mauritania. This is mainly the settlement of Siga.
Good news, bad news. Sure, what's the difference anymore?
So we are deciding to build a muster field. Clearly to get our Carthaginian barracks chain. But yes, we got a bunch of unseasonal condition reports.
Sure, when do we never have unseasonal reports?
Unseasonal conditions, yeah, that is true, in fairness, we get them a lot. I don't really pay much
I think
attention
that's
to
something
them.
we need to fix, don't you think, Kinagusis?
I think that's outside of our control. We decided to build a fishmonger in Uliabona. Darting around our provinces, just to see if anything else needs upgrading.
I think we've done enough searching now. Let's get back into it.
Okay, well, we decided to build a deep mine shaft in Ibora. And we're upgrading our buildings in Eol.
Yo. That's my new way of saying yawn.
We turn off taxes in, was that Aquitania? And yes. Deciding what to do with the Scourge of Reshef, it looks like. I'd say to disband that unit of Libby Phoenician hoplites.
You do an awful lot of disbanding these days.
So I think it's to replace them with something, of course. It looks like I'm hovering towards the Sacred Band. But I decided to go for Massalian hoplites. I do the
So
same for
you
the Friends of
found
Dungeon
easy
4.
enough to resist the temptation, didn't you?
I like to have a bit of variety.
Sure, variety is important. Variety is always important. Variety and diversity.
Yeah, that's what I like doing, having a bit of that variety and diversity. Interesting, I tried to disband those marks there. Disbanded my 2 Gallic spears and Sicilian swords.
Everyone has the right to slaughter equally.
I wonder if that's because I'm preparing for thorax reform, so I'm trying to replace some units to get other units I like. Like the Libby Phoenician thorax swords and spears.
Oh
But
dear.
yes, a child has died, Amubal.
Oh, and a child is born. Well,
Yes,
there's a bit of
Biotica
good
has
news
a
and bad
population
news there.
surplus. Yeah.
A child has died, but hey, look, another one is born.
And I believe we've just reached our thorax reforms.
Ah, that's great. Finally, Jesus.
So now we can
It
upgrade our
took,
troops.
14 goddamn sessions for
The
us to get
sacred,
to this point.
the Sacred Band Cavalry become the late version. Our Libyan Thoreos units become Libby Phoenician Thoreos. We also get to upgrade our Sacred Band into Late Sacred Band.
So what does that mean exactly?
The Late Sacred Band are just kind of more badass. They've heavier
but you
armor.
You gotta be a bit more
Okay,
specific
so
than
the Late
Batman.
Sacred Band are still effectively like hoplite units, except they're not equipped with an aspis, they have a scutum. They also have heavier armor, because I think they're wearing more chainmail. And we get rid of the Massalian hoplites to replace them with the thorax version.
Okay, that's specific enough for me.
So yeah, getting the thorax Massalian hoplites now. I think we're also recruiting in one of the armies the Celt unit of Celtic were, but looks like I decided to stick to the Libby Phoenician thorax swords.
Yay, we're back to the 104.
With the purchase of the Admirum. Again, we are retraining our existing units to be better. Now, in fairness, the Libby Phoenician Thoreoporoi are stronger and having like better armor and stuff, but they do come from your second class instead of your third, which is a bit of a downside.
Well, what's the difference?
Well, it just means they're from a higher tier population, which you won't have as numerous. So it's kind of a cost, you might say. But yes.
So I've heard the BI update has finally arrived, actually.
The beta has, yes. The beta for 1.3.2.
Did you manage to take a look at it yet?
Not yet.
I want to get on that.
Well, yeah, but I'm kind of also waiting for my new PC parts to arrive to really go into stuff like that.
Oh, well, that's fair enough.
So yeah, our Libby Phoenician hoplites are now becoming Libby Phoenician thorax spears.
That eagle sign I keep seeing, what is that? What does that mean?
What eagle sign? You mean the one that hovers above
The one
the
that's
armies?
in your third option. Like whenever you hover over the soldier and you basically have 4 options, you usually pick the eagle option. What does that one mean?
Ooh, you mean when I'm like, oh, that eagle thing there?
Yeah,
That's just
right.
that means to retrain.
Oh, so you retrain your forces.
Yeah, see, when reforms trigger, some units can be retrained into a different version. It's a feature in Rome 2 generally. Just whenever you unlock technology and get an upgraded unit, you get to retrain an existing unit. Just DEI has it tied into their reforms mechanic.
Oh, that makes sense.
So that's what it does. You retrain existing units. So yeah, this is the final reform for Carthage. Because they only get 2 reforms. Most factions get 2 reforms. 1 or 2. Rome is an exception, and I think Parthia, because they have 3 reforms.
And I'm assuming this was our second reform?
Yes.
Recently?
Yes, because our first reform was the Thoreos reforms, which gave us our Libyan Thoreos units.
Yeah.
It also gave us the Libby Phoenician cavalry and the Libby Phoenician hoplites. They were all, and the Atlas elephants. They were all part of Thoreos reforms. Thorax essentially upgrades your sacred band into late sacred band. You get Libby Phoenician thorax swords, Libby Phoenician thorax spears, which replace your hoplites, and then you get Libby Phoenician Thoreos troops and peltas, replacing your Libyan variants.
I see we're retraining most of our forces now, actually.
Yeah, because we have a lot of the Libyan Thoreos units in armies, and we also have a lot of Sacred Band, so they're inevitably going to be retrained. And also we have some Libby Phoenician hoplites, so they're going to get retrained. And that army has peltas, so they're going to get retrained. So yes, so we're recruiting new Greek mercenary hoplites to replace the thorax spears, and we're recruiting 2 thorax swords, because the thorax swords are pretty neat.
Yeah?
Well, yeah, they're pretty solid enough troops to have. I suppose what's interesting is Carthage's thorax reforms are, I guess, kind of half historical.
How do you mean by half historical?
Like, I suppose there's some degree of evidence of Carthage, particularly Hannibal, having Libby Phoenicians that were pretty well geared and equipped like Romans. But I don't think it was anything truly systematic like what this reform suggests. So I think it's more of a, call it hypothetical / kind of alt history idea of if Carthage survived long enough to really make some sort of systematic changes in a Roman style. At least that's how I would interpret it. Because I think Hannibal's Libyans and maybe Libby Phoenicians were equipped a lot like Romans. Probably because they looted a lot of that gear off the Romans. But I think even his Spanish soldiers were equipped like Romans. Which they kind of fought a little bit like them anyways. Well, they didn't always do it, but over time they did. There's an interesting article by Fernando Quesada Sanz talking about this. It's called Not So Different. And it's basically trying to say that how the Romans fought wasn't unique to the Romans.
Are you brave or foolish?
And that other peoples, notably the Iberians, did it. Fought similarly, and had similar equipment. And he kind of talks about, I suppose, over time,
well met, friend.
The Iberians went more into this direction of organised-ish armies and heavy infantry with big shields and stuff.
Or just mad.
So, yes, and then that was kind of because of the Carthaginians. But to pause this, we have declared war on the Tulingi
Or foolish?
and the
Or
Latawiki.
just mad?
We've declared war on them, so we're commencing hostilities.
Oh my god, finally some bloodshed for once.
And you complain about me being bloodthirsty.
I never complain about you being bloodthirsty, I complain about you not being bloodthirsty enough.
We are now besieging, I think it's Norea. Or decided to break off the
scratch
siege.
that, we decided to chicken out, apparently.
Well, I think I figured the enemy was too numerous.
Uh-huh.
We took some attritional losses from that, though. We decided to fortify our army outside, though.
Sure. Okay, we'll call that a worthy trade-off then.
So to build a Merc barracks in Latium.
Tarraco seems to be well stabilized enough.
Of course, it's one of our earlier holdings.
But we move our forces eastward.
Mm-hmm. Of course, Icarus will know, do we have battles in this part? Well, Icarus,
What?
do we have battles in this part? You should know.
Well, we'll just have to keep watching to find out. Keep the suspense up.
I suppose. Fair enough.
What do you think, dear viewers? Do you think we should keep the suspense up? I think we should keep the suspense up. For a change.
Well, another governor has leveled up. So we are deciding to spread a bit of our culture and reduce some empire maintenance.
Ah, education. A delightful mistress.
I am told our treasuries lack a sum of gold. Perhaps you might feel the
And Pergamon wanted a non-aggression pact in exchange for a lot of money, but I declined, and the Iceni broke non-aggression.
So what did you think was gonna happen?
The Nasamones want non-aggression in exchange for quite a bit of cash, and I accept.
The love of gold
Lataviki
can stir
want
evil in men.
peace in exchange for them giving us a lot of cash, and I reject.
God, now you're really getting into the bloodlust there. Rejecting peace offers and treaties left, right, and center. God, man, what have you become?
So I'd upgrade our champion. And we upgrade our General Magdal.
at your command.
Population surplus in Aquitania. So I decide to build an agora.
What's an agora?
Kind of like a gathering place sort of thing. In this case, it's a building that allows for various nice little building chains, like the libraries.
That's cool. Nice little design there.
And we're building a farm in Gadir.
Yet again, we encounter unseasonal conditions.
Yes. So I think what I'm trying to do is I'm waiting for the enemy to possibly get aggressive and attack. So I could.
That's your
possibly have
strategy
more-
there, I assume.
I think that's why I'm stalling, because I'm trying to wait for them to attack, because then it might be more favourable to me.
Wait then to make the first fuck up, basically.
To make the first move in a situation where it might be more beneficial. I think is probably what my thinking is here. Of course, it's been a good while, so I don't entirely remember what I was thinking.
Are you ready to serve?
Recruit some Greek mercenary hoplites there. And we move the Scourge of
move our
Reshef
forces
over.
Toward, we move the Scourge of Reshef further,
Reshef.
further eastwards.
Towards Korea, looks like.
Getting them right up in position there.
And moving the Friends of the 104 towards Noria, it looks like.
Gathering forces in steam, ready for the big assault.
Mm-hmm. Where you want non-aggression in exchange for quite a bit of money. I decline. And
Sure,
the
when
Tulingi
they
decided to
make
attack.
demands like that, you have no choice, honestly.
The Tulingi decided to attack us.
Now, should they stay or should they go?
Well, I
That's the
decided to
question.
quick save. So I'm gonna fight it.
Oh my god, finally! An actual battle this time around. It's been far too fucking long since we've had one of these.
And it's a fort
Don't
battle.
you think, dear viewers? Don't you think?
It's a fort battle.
All these walls and shield the people within.
So
I
these
don't
are-
care as long as it's any battle. I want some bloodshed. I want
Well,
to taste
here's
the
our new
sweet
troops.
smell. I want to taste the sweet
Yes,
spaghetti
yes,
red.
yes, yes. Now, look at our new troops. These are Libby Phoenician Thoreo swords in the middle. So they're basically Thoreo swords, but with better armor. But still Thoreo, so they're light-ish. So it's more like a Linothorax they've got.
Okay, okay. Who are we defending them against?
We are defending against the... I think it's the Tulingi? Or Latoiki?
Oh, they're advancing already.
Yeah. Yeah, our Numidians running. Yes, the Tulingi. And we decide to attack this cavalry.
Oh, they're vastly outnumbered there. They're screwed.
Yep. Javelin volley wipes them out even more. Now they charged. And some of the enemy cavalry, of course, attacked our spearmen, which is a pretty bad move.
Sure, they're running. They're running scared. I mean, like, what else can they do?
Speaking of spearmen, one of the quite interesting changes in the new DEI patch is that they got rid of expert charge defense.
How? Why'd they do that? Actually,
I've known for quite a long time that they haven't been too fond of that trait. It's kind of messy and buggy, I think, because what happens is sometimes if a unit of cavalry charges, say into the rear of a certain spear unit. So I should probably explain what expert charge defense does.
yeah. What is it exactly?
It's a trait given to basically any and all spear unit where effectively they get to reflect charge damage back onto the chargee, or charger rather. So if a unit of cavalry charged at a unit of spearmen and they're pretty well braced, the spearmen can basically reflect the damage back onto the charging cavalry. The thing is though, it's a bit kind of wonky, and sometimes even if the cavalry charges into the rear of the spear unit, the extra charge defense will still cause quite a bit of damage to the cavalry unit. So, and I think the devs haven't been happy with it, but if they remove it, things are still too messy, and they run into a lot of problems. But they seem to find a workaround.
What's the workaround?
From what I understand, Summary saying, I think they boosted up some of the stats, like melee defense and stuff, I think. The defense, I think, might be boosted, and they also increased the mass of spears,
Okay. Okay.
which might allow them to better resist charges, especially when braced. Because, you know, mass is pretty important. So, we have our spears holding off. We have the Geisatine nearby.
It's practically a giant rave over there. Do you know what this is? It's like something. I don't know. Those soldiers look like something you'd see out of Dark Souls or something, just from their design alone.
I wouldn't say so. In Dark Souls, they're all practically undead. They are all undead.
Well, they look pretty undead there. I mean, like they're all pretty much dead men walking at this point.
Not the same thing. But our
I'm
Geisatine
sure they
are
could use a
taking
couple of
casualties from
souls to
missiles.
re-energize themselves. The souls of their enemies.
We are now moving some of our troops out. We're moving our melee troops around so they can hit the enemy from their flanks and rear. Our elephants are probably going to do the same, and I think we're also moving our slingers so they can shoot the enemy in vulnerable spots. Because I think if you hit a unit, missiles are best effective if they shoot at the right or side or rear of a unit.
Well, we'll just have to wait and see what maneuver they decide to go with.
And I think that's our cavalry moving, and that's our Geistetai. And then they also got a
Watch
bit of
out! They're in the nip! You know them. They're in the nip, so now you know they're serious.
Oh yeah, in fairness they are.
I know, all the same.
I know, I think they got a bit of
resist.
visual tweak in this new patch.
Well, what kind of tweak?
Just some minor changes to their visuals to better keep them in line with the standard of barbarian units since 1.3.
Do they have bigger dongs, or what's the story?
Well, if you use Semon's Dong submod, then they'll have some nice good old dongs. But otherwise they don't have dongs to see in base DEI. But of course you'd want to use the Dong submod, and we definitely will in our next campaigns.
Oh yes, yes indeed.
So you can see the barbarian glory. But anyways, our Thoreosaurs have charged into the enemy. I think our Ambacti also have charged in. And on this side we'll be seeing something similar. Our Ambacti and I think that Scutari are charging.
Ooh, fine effort there.
Yeah, that's Scutari.
Scutari going up against the Mbakti.
No, we're not going up against the Ambacti. They're working with the Ambacti.
Oh, okay. It just looked like that.
So yeah, we have our pretty elite Iberian swords. I also think, I believe Carthage's Scutari got slight nerf in the new patch.
Oh, so
I think they got less armor.
why did they do that?
I think it was just to probably better balance things out so they're not so powerful.
Okay. An interesting trade-off, but a trade-off nonetheless.
Yeah. And I think the Adgenios Lankia can now go into a shield wall formation.
Oh, is that their specialty?
I think, see, the Adgenios Lankia are basically like noble spearmen, noble kind of Gallic mercenary spears. And so I think the idea is, I think that was one of the things they did quite a bit in the 1.3 patch, which overhauled barbarian units, was to create more spear wall units, I think, particularly for Celts. Because I think they did fight in some kind of, not spear wall, shield wall, because I think they did use shield wall formations. Their years of fighting with Romans and Greeks and all that lot seem to have rubbed off. But on another note, we see enemy units, reinforcements moving into our camp, which is poorly defended. Our slingers are shooting at them.
You have a big giant gap there. Of course it's poorly defended.
Yeah, because I moved all my troops out. So our general is fighting these spears
with nowhere to go.
whilst they are being hit by ranged fire. But they're
You've
losing.
got them all in one.
Well, our Geistetai are
big
actually
open
able to
corner
fight.
there.
We have Geistetai nearby, so they're fighting.
Here come the fellas in the nips.
Yep, the Geistetai. And I think there's even a naked unit to the Iweru, because we'll probably be doing a short-ish campaign in them some point soon, and they have a naked sword unit, which are pretty powerful. So they'll be
They
fun
have the
to
most
see.
powerful swords, I'm assuming.
Not the most powerful swords, they're just a pretty powerful sword unit that are, well, naked. But I think they got decent enough armor, because I think they wear helmets, I think, so they might have okay armor. but they're otherwise pretty nude. But yeah,
This is definitely a big old fog of war situation here.
you see, it's a foggy battlefield.
I know, that's the pun.
I know. Once, since we were the ones defending, the AI has the option to decide when to attack. Or suppose they attack in the first instance, and I had no control over the weather. Basically. Yeah, so we see some Alpine swordsmen fighting our Iberian swords. Because the thing with the tribes of Cisalpine Gaul is that they're not really purely Celtic tribes.
Where's the other half exactly?
The tribes of Cisalpine Gaul are kind of a mixture of different groups. Some were Celtic tribes, some were Celticized peoples. I think go back earlier in time, they were probably closely related to the Etruscans, like the Rieti, for example. And they were closely related to the Etruscans, but went under influence from Celts. I think the Veneti and Ligures were similar. So they're kind of interesting. They're not purely Celtic, if you want to put it that way. They're more just influenced by Celts that settled in Cisalpine Gaul. So they're just quite interesting. So I think their style of warfare was a little different. At least,
so?
I think it more like it didn't change too drastically. It didn't go through the same amount of the evolutions of Celtic warfare that was experienced in the rest of the continent. It was more, they kind of made some changes in a few areas and just kind of stuck to what was a slightly older method, roughly like that. But anyways, the battle is finished with a heroic victory, and this is the end of this part.